We've got some more information about Life by You, and I really want to talk about it every single time Life by You uploads an update. It's normally a small update, but actually like there's so much information that you can get from it. It's pretty crazy. So this one is basically about relationships. Now they've shown off the socials panel. Obviously it has whether or not you like someone in a friendly way versus a romantic way. And it also has chemistry. They haven't actually spoken much about chemistry, but I assume it's going to work similarly in the same way as it did in The Sims 2, in that if you have high chemistry, it's going to be easier to gain friendliness or romanticness. They also showed how you can really easily cheat it just by dragging the bar, which I think is pretty cool. Although what I'm really hoping for is that by default, these kinds of cheats are turned off. So like you only have access to them if you specifically turn them on. I really hate the idea of having cheats easily accessible, because it means like I think I'm just gonna get lazy and change it myself, whereas I won't bother with the grind. So like I really do hope that you can turn them off. They also showed a relationship status in here, which shows so these two people are roommates. So it looks like you can have, they've basically just like soft dropped, is that a real word? Soft dropped, soft announcement. They like softly dropped that you can have roommates in this game, in the base game, and that you can develop a crush or be a friend. But the thing I am honestly like so excited about based on what they've said is that you can have one-sided relationships. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is something that we've never ever seen in The Sims, in any Sims game. What this would mean is that your relationship levels, like the one shown here, may be different for each party involved. What this could mean is you could have a crush on somebody and have like a high romance meter for them, but they may not be romantically attracted to you. This is honestly, I mean, firstly, it's a bit too close for comfort. Might reawaken a little bit of trauma in my past relationships. But this is like a really complicated thing that we've never seen before. And I think it's something that could have the potential to have really great gameplay consequences. So we don't really, even though we know a lot about social interactions in the game, they haven't shown us much about like autonomous socializing. What I'd want to know is, you know, if you have a high romance for somebody, maybe, you know, you'll autonomously have more romantic interactions with somebody, but they might respond negatively and be very likely to reject you if they don't fancy you. I think this is something that would be really cool. And like, what about a one-sided friendship? Although I'm not too sure exactly how this would work, especially in terms of things like chemistry, because okay, maybe this is a bit too deep. I don't know if Life by You is going to be that deep, but in real life, we have psychologically real chemistry and perceived chemistry, where you might think that you have good chemistry with somebody, but really you just have a cognitive bias and actually you have a terrible chemistry. I don't know if the game would ever really go that deep, but they haven't really given an idea in terms of how a one-sided relationship would work. How I personally would like it to work is based on turn-ons and turn-offs. They haven't actually said if these were a thing. We know that the game will come with chemistry, but we don't know exactly how it would work. We also don't know if there'll be a separation between romantic and friendship chemistry. The way I personally think it should work is to have turn-ons and turn-offs. So if somebody has characteristics that turn you on, that you can develop a high romance with them. But if you prominently have a lot of characteristics that register as their turn-offs, maybe they won't be romantically attracted to you. That's how I personally think one-sided relationships should work. That's how it's worked for me in real life before. Sorry for the trauma dump. But I just think it will have a lot of really great gameplay consequences. And I also think it would be interesting to know if you can change a one-sided relationship, like if you could really like work to impress somebody, and that it will be even harder to impress them to make them want to fancy you. I think it's really interesting because, I mean, if you think about it, in The Sims, like if you just do a romantic interaction, like you both equally gain the same amount of romance or friendship, which I don't think is realistic, because in real life, friendships and relationships in general are a lot more complicated. Another thing I also hope you can do is have a love-hate relationship, so like high romance but they hate each other. I mean, they have showed that here, so these people have high romance but low likes. Maybe it would work if you want like a grinder hookup. Also, another thing I would really love to see that we had in The Sims 2 was temporary hate. This is the thing I think we don't see happening in Life by You or The Sims 4, but one thing I do miss from The Sims 2 is that there was basically something called Fury, which was basically like a temporary anger towards somebody, because the problem with likes and dislikes in The Sims or in Life by You is that if you have loads of negative interactions with somebody, it will result in a bad relationship. But in real life, you might be best friends with somebody or in a relationship with somebody, but bicker and argue all the time. But then like 10 minutes later, you get over it and it has absolutely no negative impact on your long-term relationship. I just feel like I really hope Life by You adds a lot more complexity. It already seems quite cool with the one-sided relationships, but I would definitely like to see a lot more, as well as one-sided relationships. I would also like to see temporary relationship states. Maybe one's added at the bottom here. So if it says roommate likes you in love, but also maybe one like angry, where they're just temporarily annoyed with you. I would also like to see temporary romance, like a fling, so you could do a proper grinder hookup. I really hope Life by You comes with online dating. I feel like I may have accidentally seen it before in fleeting reference when they showed interactions with a PC. I can't remember, but I really hope it does come with online dating. Now, another thing they touched on in this video was character creation. They basically just spoke about the randomizer, that you can randomize your personality and appearance and other things, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. But they did address the way characters look. I feel like they're getting a lot of critical comments talking about the way the characters look is a bit weird. I feel like they've had enough, like they get it now. So they did state in this video that characters will be changing a lot and they are definitely working on them. So I feel like we don't need to yap on about it anymore because we know it's happening. Although, like, I will say this guy, what's his name? Jonathan McGowan. Jonathan McGowan, aside from the Justin Bieber hair, you are so hot. Oh my lord. Like he is like my type. Do you know what I mean? They did also talk about sliders. Like, as you can see from this video, you can make sliders at really extreme. I'll be honest with you, I think they need to work on the sliders. Like, this is not it. Imagine having a randomly generated townie coming out looking like this. I just don't think it's gonna, I think they just need to tone down on the sliders a little bit. I feel like they should leave like extreme sliders in as like a modded thing that you can do if you want to add chaos. But I feel like for the vanilla experience, like this needs to be toned down. But in terms of like general customization, even just looking at this bar here, you can see like stomach, it says size, up, down, width, depth. Like there seems to be a lot of customization. A lot of people I've seen have said comments on my videos like, I hope they have a dragging feature like they do in The Sims 4 where you can just click on a body part. As far as I'm aware, that's actually a patented thing that EA have. What is a patent? I'm not good at legal stuff, like copyrighted or whatever. So basically other companies are not able to introduce this dragging feature. So it has to be sliders, but I actually like it. Like you can see how you can change the hips width, but you can also change the size of the bottom, but not just the size, but the depth and whether it's like perky up or down. That means I can create a really like beautiful looking bottom with a perky bum. 100% somebody's gonna be making some kind of like Wicked Whim style mod for this game. Like I can already see it. The game already has like nudity in the base game, so like we're halfway there already. So I'm glad that they make reference to the fact that they know in general characters don't look the best and they're going to be working on them, which is really good. I feel like though in general a lot of people are looking at Life by You as The Sims and they just want The Sims graphics, and I mean this in the nicest way. I think people need to get over the fact that this is not The Sims, and I know that sounds brutal, but I think people need to get over that Life by You is not The Sims and it will look different. Like Life by You's character creation genuinely looks like character creators I see in so many different video games. It just lacks a lot of detail, but obviously I think a life simulation game requires a lot of graphical stress, so I understand why it can't look super duper detailed. But even though I do think it needs a lot of improving, like just looking at this face here, like there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, when you look at this face here, it looks a little bit less detailed. I feel like the issue is whenever they show like previews of the character creator, some characters look great, others look awful, and I'm not talking about like ugly or attractive. I just mean like graphically it seems a little bit like inconsistent. I can't put my finger on why. I also think characters look a little bit bottom heavy, but across the bought. Like, I genuinely don't think they look that bad. I just think they need to change, like, I don't know how any graphical stuff works. Shaders, is that what it is? But in terms of the art style, maybe it's unpopular, but I personally like the art style. Although one thing, okay, I am very, very, very concerned about is randomly generated characters. I really don't want to see every single randomly generated character looking like this. Obviously, be your true authentic self, be diversity slay, blah, 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 whatever. But I hope that they, in terms of like randomly generated people, I hope that they tone it down so that randomly generated people can only be randomly generated within certain limits, so they look like regular. Like, being brutal, it's very rare you'd see somebody like this walking down the street, and I'm sure there are many people who dress like this and want to dye their hair like this and wear a green camo top with these teal joggers and blue Converse shoes, but it's not very common. And I think if all randomly generated characters have randomly generated colors, randomly generated outfits, I think it will be absolute hell. I personally think that they need to create some like boundaries in terms of randomly generated outfits. For example, randomly generated jeans can only be a shade of blue or black. Randomly generated hair must, I don't know, randomly generated hair must be a certain color so you don't have people with multicolored hair running around. Because let's be honest, it's almost become a meme in The Sims 4 that randomly generated townies look horrendous. So I don't want that for Life by You. But in general, I think it was a nice little update. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future updates. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.